can start with the questions.
Yes.
The first one is, gentleman says, first of all, thank you very much for your time. I have two separate questions. I understand that the self or pure I am is always present, even when the ego shuts off in deep sleep. My question is, what happens to the self when a person becomes completely unconscious? For example, when they faint or are given general anesthesia. It looks as though the pure self needs a conscious body to manifest itself.
Right.
And there is a second question. Do you want me to read it out?
Shall I answer the first one first, and then because I've got a very short memory span. Firstly, the body is not conscious. Bhagavan says in, for example, in verse 24 of Appaḻa Jada udul nanenadu. The body is Jada. That the Jada body does not say I. That's a metaphorical way of saying the body, the insentient body, is not aware of itself as I. Why is it not aware of itself as I? Because it's not aware, it's Jada. In verse 22, I think, of Upadeshundya, he says all the 5 sheaves are Jadam and Asat. They are non-aware and non-existent. So our real nature does not need anything. It is Swayam Prakasa, it is self-shining. The consciousness that we lose in sleep or in coma or in general anesthesia or in any of these states, it is consciousness of the world. That consciousness of the world is, what is it that is conscious of the world? It is only ego. So in the absence of ego, there's no consciousness of the world. That is, the world doesn't exist independent of ego's awareness of it. So ego's awareness of the world is what is called the world. There's no separate world. The world is nothing but, as Bhagavan says in verse 6 of Appaḻa, the world is nothing but the 5 kinds of sense perception. That is sight, sounds, taste, smells, tactile sensations. Take away these 5, and where is any world? So the world is nothing but sense impressions. And sense impressions are mental impressions. That is, who is aware of these sense impressions? It's only the mind. So in the absence of mind here means ego, the perceiver of everything. In the absence of ego, everything doesn't exist. So there is no, in sleep and such states, there's no awareness of anything other than ourselves. But awareness of ourselves is eternal and immutable. It never undergoes any change at all. It is not affected either by the appearance of the ego, and consequently of the world, in waking and dream, or of their disappearance in sleep. It remains ever as it is. So the appearance of the world depends upon ego. The appearance of ego depends upon that fundamental awareness I am, which is the light that illumines ego. So everything is dependent on our real nature, but our real nature is not dependent on anything. I hope that adequately answers that first question.
And the second question is, what goes from one life to another? Is it ego and Vishaya vasanas? If so, how can certain people claim they are able to recollect memories of previous lifetimes when memory does not move from one lifetime to another?
Yes, what so-called moves, it doesn't actually move because that is, if we take the world as being something that exists outside ourselves, we can say when the body dies, the soul or the ego goes away, and then it comes back again in some other body. That is why this repeated births is sometimes referred to as transmigration, as if we're moving from one body to another body to another body. But Bhagavan has given us a much simpler explanation. all these are just dreams. So each life is a dream. So when one dream comes to an end, either another dream begins immediately, or we may subside in a state like sleep, and then we start dreaming again. So each life is just a dream. The one continuity between all these dreams is the dreamer. In other words, ego. It's the same dreamer, but he's dreaming all the dreams. Ego, the nature of ego is to have Vishaya vasanas. That is, ego is not its vasanas, but it is the nature of ego to have vasanas. So vasanas always accompany ego. But vasanas are what are called the karana sarira, the causal body. It is sometimes said it's the subtle body that goes from life to life. Subtle body in that sense isn't referring to the pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, and vijnanamaya kosha, which are sometimes referred to as the subtle body. When it is said that the subtle body goes from one life to another, subtle body there means ego, as Bhagavan has clarified, for example, at the end of the fourth paragraph of Nana. He says the mind itself, mind here means ego, itself is what is called jiva and sukshma sarira. And in verse 24 of Appaḻa, he says that I that rises between body and sat chit, that is chit jadagranti, bondage, bandham, nupame, the subtle body, jiva, the soul, samsara, this samsara, ego and mind. So in some contexts, when the word subtle body is used, particularly in the context of migrating from one life to another, subtle body just means ego. And ego always takes its vasanas with it. The vasanas are particularly, it's the Vishaya vasanas. Vishaya means all objects or phenomena. Vasanas means inclination. So our inclination or liking to experience Vishayas are what are called Vishaya vasanas. And those Vishaya vasanas are the seeds that appear as Vishayas. That is, Vishayas, all phenomena, are nothing but a sprouting of our Vishaya vasanas. So the memories are also a sprouting of our Vishaya vasanas. So it is possible, that is, yogis and others, can develop the skill to remember past lives. Even by deep hypnosis, some people are able to recollect past lives. Even if they don't recollect once they come out of hypnosis, while they're in the hypnosis, they may be talking in some language which hasn't been spoken for 500 years or something. Such phenomena are reported. I mean, we don't know about such things, but it is said that such things do occur. So because the vasanas are the seeds that give rise to everything else. The vasanas are not the memories, but the memories, that is memories of Vishayas. They're things that they're just, that we experience something and we're able to recollect what we experience. So just like a perception is something that we are perceiving here and now, a memory is an impression left by the perception in the past. So yes, it may be possible by yogis or by hypnosis or by other means to remember past lives, but that is all because who experienced those past lives? The same I that is now experiencing itself as I am this body, I am this person, I am Michael. In some previous life, it was experiencing itself as I am John, or I am Mary, or I am Saraswati, or I am whatever name we had in some previous life. So the continuity between all dreams is only the dreamer. And the seeds from which the dreams sprout are ego's Vishaya vasanas, ego's liking to experience things other than itself. And ego cannot, for a moment, that the reason why Vishaya vasanas are the very nature of ego as Bhagavan says in verse 25 of Uludunapadu, he describes ego as a formless phantom, and he says, grasping form, it comes into existence. Grasping form, it stands. Grasping and feeding on forms, it flourishes abundantly. Leaving form, it grasps form. So the nature of ego is to be always grasping form. Since ego is a formless phantom, the forms it grasps are things other than itself. Everything other than itself is a Vishaya. So that inclination to grasp Vishayas is the very nature of ego. That doesn't mean that ego is the Vishaya vasanas. It's the nature of ego to have Vishaya vasanas, to have the inclination, that liking to attend to things other than itself. So that's what we are seeking to achieve by investigating ourselves. The more we look within, the more our liking to experience other things diminishes and our liking to experience ourselves increases. That liking to experience ourselves as we actually are, as mere being, is what is called Sattvasana. So just like the ego takes its Vishaya vasanas along with it, it also takes its Sattvasana along with it. So any progress we make in the spiritual path, progress in the spiritual path means strengthening the Sattvasana, weakening the Vishaya vasanas. That is taken from life to life. So if we don't finish the work in this lifetime, it'll continue in the next lifetime. We will leave off from where we started. The same inclinations will come with us. So if we've been drawn to this path in this lifetime, even if we don't complete our journey in this lifetime, we'll certainly continue in the next lifetime. I hope this adequately answers that question.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, right.
The next question is, when we are looking within, what is it that is doing the looking? What are we using to look within?
The question itself contains the answer. When we look within, what is looking within? We are looking within. But the one who is looking within, it is ourself. We ourselves are looking within. But who needs to look within? It is ego that needs to look within. That is, now we experience ourselves as ego. Because when we look outwards, we are aware of ourselves as I am this body. That which is aware of itself as I am this body, and consequently aware of other things, is what is called ego. So the nature of ego is to be looking outwards. So in order to surrender our ego nature and regain our real nature, how can we surrender our ego nature? Since our ego nature is to look outwards, we need to look within. Looking within is surrendering our ego nature. So who is looking within? It is ego. By looking within, ego is surrendering itself. So that is ego is that adjunct mixed awareness. I am this person. I am this body. I am so and so. I am Michael or whoever. That is ego. What we actually are is just I am. So it's not that there are two selves or two eyes, a big I and a small I, or a real I and a false I, a real self and a false self. There is only one self, only one I. That one I, when it is mixed and conflated with adjuncts, it is called ego. And the nature of ego is to look outwards, because without looking outwards, it can't grasp the adjuncts as I am this body. So what we actually are is just the pure awareness I am. In the view of the pure awareness I am, nothing other than ourself exists, because all other things exist only in the view of the outward-looking ego. I am never looks outwards or inwards because it's just aware of itself. It's aware of nothing other than itself, so it need not attend to itself. Without it, that is, attention is a focusing of our awareness. When we're aware of many things, we have a choice to focus our awareness on this thing or that thing or that thing or that thing. That focusing of our awareness on something is what is called attention. So attention is a a faculty of ego, because only ego is aware of many things. Our real nature is never aware of anything other than itself. So it has no need to attend to itself. So what is looking within, what is attending to itself, what is being self-attentive is ego. Since our real nature is pure self-awareness, the more we look within, the more we subside and merge back into our real awareness. So as Bhagavan says, when we look outwards, we're aware of ourselves as I am this body. The more we look within, the more clearly we become aware of ourselves as I am just I. And when we look within keenly enough, so that we thereby exclude everything else from our awareness, then that awareness, I am I, shines in its full glory, swallowing ego. So ego can never see what it actually is, but it needs to look within to see what it actually is, because by seeing what it actually is, it loses itself in what it actually is. I hope that adequately answers that question.
Yes, thank you very much, Michael. Thank you.
Right.
The next question is, when practicing being self-attentive, how to avoid turning our self, existence, awareness, I am, into an object or mental concept?
If we are being self-attentive, we are not attending to any object. We're attending to a, superficially, we can say we're attending to a subject. But if we go deeper into it, what we are actually attending to is not the subject, it is the reality of the subject. That is, the subject is that I that is aware of itself as I am this body. But what we are trying to attend to is what we actually are, which is just that fundamental awareness I am. So we're not attending to any objects. We're not even attending to a subject. We're attending to the reality of the subject. Superficially, we can say, yes, we're attending to the subject. Like if you see a snake on the path and Bhagavan tells you, no, it's not a snake, it's a rope. Look at it carefully. When we're looking at it, it still looks to us like a snake. So it seems to us we're attending to a snake. But when we look at it carefully enough, we see, oh, it's just a rope. It was never a snake. So it may seem that we are looking at ego. Doesn't matter. That's fine. Look at ego, because what ego actually is nothing but pure awareness. Ego seems to be something other than pure awareness only when it looks outside. When it looks back within, it sees nothing but pure awareness. That's why Bhagavan says, Tedinal otum piticum. If thought it takes flight, we can never see ego as such, because we seem to be ego only when we're looking away from ourselves. When we look back at ourselves to see who am I, our ego nature drops off and our real nature shines forth as I am I. So I hope that adequately answers that question. So the question was how to be sure that we're not attending to any object. I'll go into this a little bit more deeply. That is, because our attention is always going outwards, everything other than ourselves is relatively gross. Even the thoughts and feelings and emotions and likes and dislikes and vasanas and everything, they're all, compared to ourselves, they're gross, because they're all forms of one kind or another, whereas we are the formless reality. So the more we face outwards, the more gross our power of attention becomes, more blunt it becomes. Because we're always accustomed to attending to gross things, we are not able, it's difficult for us to see subtle things. So when we begin to look within, we are beginning to sharpen and refine our power of awareness. So because our power of awareness, or power of attention, because our power of attention is still relatively blunt, it's still a relatively dull instrument, we are not clearly able to distinguish I am from everything else. But it doesn't matter. Just continue trying to hold on to I am. The more we hold on to I am, the more subtle and refined our power of attention will become. So we're able to focus on I am more and more. The more we focus on I am, the more everything else drops off. Why does everything drop off? Why does everything else drop off when we attend to I am? Because nothing is holding on to us. Why does this body seem to be clinging to us? Why does this world seem to be clinging to us? Why do all our problems seem to be clinging to us? They are not clinging to us. We are clinging to them. So we are aware of ourselves as I am this body only when we look outwards. When we look within, we are no longer holding on to this body, so it drops off. So the adjuncts drop off to the extent to which we attend to I am. So the deeper we go in this path, the more subtle and refined our attention becomes. So the more we're able to distinguish that fundamental awareness I am from all the adjuncts that are now mixed and conflated with it. So the objects will automatically drop off to the extent to which we attend to our fundamental awareness I am, to our mere being. So we're not attending to an object. As I say, we're not even attending to a subject. We're trying to attend to the reality of the subject, that which lies behind the subject, the essence of the heart of the subject. What is the heart of the subject? It's I am. The subject is I am this body. The heart of this false awareness I am this body is the real awareness I am. That is what we are trying to attend to. So the more we attend to that, the more objects will drop off. But some people who start this, they start off without, that is, we need to understand Bhagavan's teachings correctly in order to apply them correctly. So if we don't have a clear and deep understanding, we'll be looking for some I. Some people say, I looked and I couldn't find this I. What does that show? But they haven't understood what Bhagavan is saying, because are we to look for some I other than the I who is looking? That is, the I who is looking for some I is itself the I it is looking for. So it's not a matter of looking for something. It's a matter of just looking at ourselves, being self-attentive. So if we've understood it clearly, what Bhagavan is talking about, we will clearly understand we're not looking for anything called I. We are just trying to be aware of ourselves as we actually are. In other words, we're trying to be aware of ourselves alone by focusing our attention on ourselves. So there's this idea that it's difficult to, that is the idea that, am I looking at myself or am I looking at an object? If we understand what Bhagavan is talking about, we will clearly understand the difference between looking at ourselves and looking at objects. When we're looking at ourselves, because ourself is still mixed with adjuncts, we don't yet turn our attention towards ourselves keenly enough to cease being aware of anything else. So there's still a lingering awareness of the body and mind and thoughts and so on. Doesn't matter. We continue trying just to attend to I. The more we attend to I, the more other things drop off. I hope that adequately answers that question.
The next question, Michael, is until recently, I had thought I was holding on to the I relatively well. But when a few weeks ago, my father was rushed into hospital, he then developed further complications and is now even caught COVID in hospital. My attention has now suddenly been thrust outward with all my new responsibilities for my mother who cannot drive a car and worries. How can I remain with the I with all this happening?
Okay, yeah, this is all prarabdha. That is, prarabdha often throws difficulties at us. But the fact is, as Bhagavan says, whatever is to happen, it's already predetermined. And whatever role we have to play in what is to happen, we'll be made to play. So if in the present situation, you seem to have added responsibilities. You need to take care of your mother, you need to drive her to the hospital, you've got so many problems to think about and everything. These seem to be taking your attention outwards. But in spite of all these problems, are you not aware I am? So we can hold, if we develop skill in this practice of self-attentiveness, we can continue holding on to I am, even in the midst of all these whatever problems life throws at us. Now you find that you're having difficulty holding on to self-attentiveness because you're so concerned about your father. That is natural. We have love for our parents and for those who are close to us. But there's a good lesson to be learned in this. Now your mind, in these past few weeks since your father became ill and was hospitalized, how much your mind has been dwelling on your father. Before that, you wouldn't have been thinking of your father so much because you'd have had other day-to-day preoccupations. But now your father's in a critical condition, you're thinking about him so much. Even in the midst of your work or other things, you'll be constantly remembering him, thinking, is he okay? Is he going to recover? And so on. What does that show? That shows because of your love for your father, he's occupying your mind so much. I'm not saying that's wrong. Of course, that's good. It's natural. We naturally have love for our parents and so on. But from this, we can learn a lesson. What occupies our mind is what we have most interest in, what we have most love for. So what we need to do is to cultivate a passionate love to know who am I. The more we love to know who am I, the more our attention will be turning within, even in the midst of other activities. When you're driving your car, or when you're working at the office or wherever you're working, is not the thought of your father often coming to your mind? That you're still doing your work, you're still driving your car correctly, you're stopping at red lights and doing everything. Maybe not much attention on that because your thoughts are on your father, but you're still doing everything correctly as you should be doing it. Likewise at work, you'll be doing your work just as efficiently as ever, but the thought of your father is often there in your mind. If we had so much love to know who am I, but we have love for our relatives, that we would be self-attentive even in the midst of all these other activities. So we can understand from such experiences how what we are doing at this very moment, whether it's driving a car or working in office or whatever, actually, it doesn't require our full attention. That is, some of our attention needs to be on what we are doing, but a lot of our attention is on thoughts about other things that are not immediately important. Now, what will be occupying your mind most of all is the condition of your father and about your mother and how she's managing and all these. So many of these thoughts will be there because of your concern for them, because of your love for them. By more going deeper and deeper in this practice of self-investigation, we develop that love to know who am I. We develop that passionate interest to know who am I. The more we have that love, the more the self-attentiveness will be automatically going on. Do you have to make effort to be thinking about your father or thinking about your mother at this time in your life? No, you're not able to avoid thinking about them. It's so natural to you because of your love for them. Likewise, the more we go deep in this path, the more we will have passionate love to know who am I. So the self-attentiveness, the self-remembrance will come to us naturally, automatically, without it will not seem to be an effort on our part. Because if you're very interested in something, supposing you've got a very interesting book you're reading, do you find it an effort to read the book? If you're given if you're studying at college and you've got some boring book you've got to read, it's an effort to read it. But if it's a book that's very interesting, you read it very happily. It doesn't seem like, oh, I've got to take so much effort to read this book. No, you read it with all passion and interest. So effort seems to be effort only when we are not interested. When we are passionately interested in something, whatever we do, it doesn't seem to be an effort. So we need to be so passionately interested in knowing who am I. But now you're going through a difficult time in your life. It may seem more difficult at this time. Doesn't matter. No, obviously, you've got to take care of your parents. And you've got to take and do all that is necessary. But from this, you can learn. You learn more about the nature of the mind, how it is possible to attend to things without obstructing the work. Just like you can be thinking about your mother and your father without it interrupting your work. You can be self-attentive without it interrupting anything. Everything else will go on as it's destined to go on. But the more we have love to attend to ourselves, the more we will be attending to ourselves in the midst of everything. I hope that adequately answers your question. And I wish your father all the best. And your father and mother, I wish them both all the best.
Thank you very much, Michael. That was my question, and that's definitely helped. Yes, thank you.
Right.
Michael, the next question is holding on to I am a similar process like meditation?
In a certain sense, yes. But in any other type of meditation, we're meditating on an object. We're meditating on something other than ourselves. Whereas when we're meditating on I am, we're not meditating on an object. We're meditating on ourselves, that which is ever present. But essentially, it's the same. It's a matter of attending. But whereas other attention, our attention is moving away from ourselves towards some other thing, towards the object of our meditation. In this case, our attention is not moving away from ourselves. It is resting in its source. So whereas attending to anything other than ourselves, meditating on anything other than ourselves is an action, a movement of our mind away from ourselves towards some other thing. Meditating on ourselves or attending to ourselves is not an action, it's a state of just being. That is, to the extent to which we attend to ourselves, to that extent does the mind subside, and do we thereby rest in our own true being as we actually are. I hope that adequately answers that question.
Thank you, Michael.
The next question, Michael, is, thank you, Michael, for the session. If everything is a dream, then why do we go through our prarabdha karma?
What we experience in a dream is determined by prarabdha karma. That is, everything we are experiencing is our own dream. It's our own creation. But while you are dreaming, are you able to control everything that is happening? No. If there's a war or a famine happening in your dream, you can't just will it to stop. If you're being chased by a monster, you can't just will the monster to disappear. The reason is, whenever we dream, we don't experience ourselves as the dreamer. We experience ourselves as a person in our dream. So though the whole dream is our own creation, we don't experience ourselves as the creator of the dream. We experience ourselves as a creature in the dream. That is, we dream ourselves to be one of the creatures in our dream. So as this small, just like now, we seem to be a small person in a big world. We don't have control over it. We can't now. There's danger of war breaking out if Putin sends his army or navy or whatever and airplanes into Ukraine. A terrible war could start. We have no control over that. If that was happening in a dream, you wouldn't have any more control over it. You'll feel Putin is so powerful, I'm powerless. What can I do to stop him? But it's all your own creation. But because you take yourself to be a part of your creation, you seem to have no power over the creation. So what we experience in this life, though it is our own creation, it is the content of what we have created is determined by prarabdha. That is the fruit of our past actions, but have been selected by Bhagavan for us to experience in this particular dream, this particular lifetime. I hope that answered that adequately.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Michael.
Right.
The next one is, I would like to know what Manonasa refers to if it is not an absence of thought or state of mind. I remember Bhagavan saying his feeling of being higher than emperors when he ate the food he himself begged in town.
Manonasa means destruction of mind. But mind can be destroyed only when ego is destroyed, because of all the thoughts in the mind, the first thought is ego, the thought called I. So Manonasa means the complete eradication of ego, the complete eradication of mind, and therefore the end of all thoughts. That is why it's called Manonasa. Nasa means destruction, eradication, annihilation. So in the state of Manonasa, there is no mind. The Bhagavan you are talking about is the person whom we see as Bhagavan. That is, we see Bhagavan as a person because, as Bhagavan said, because we take ourselves to be a body, the world and God also, that we take ourselves to be the form of this body, the world and God will also seem to be likewise. What Bhagavan actually is that fundamental awareness I am, but is ever shiny in our heart. He is what we actually are. But because we have no liking to look within, it was necessary for him to appear outwardly in human name and form in order to give us the teachings and to tell us to turn within. So in our dream, Bhagavan seems to be a person. He lived for 54 years in Tiruvannamalai. He answered so many questions asked by devotees. He wrote poems like Uludunapdu, Padeshundia, Arunachastuti Panchakam. He went begging for his food in the early days. Later, when the ashram came up, he helped him in the kitchen cutting vegetables, and he was a master chef and everything. All these things is only in our view because we take him to be that body. His experience is, I am just I. I am not this body. I'm not this mind. I am I. So, but because we see him as a body, for example, we say, Bhagavan, you say that you have no mind, but when we ask you questions, how do you answer all our questions? Sometimes Bhagavan used to give some nice analogies. Once he said, see this radio. We hear nice singing coming from a radio. But if we open it, we won't find anyone inside. Likewise with the body of the yani. Though the body of the yani seems to be talking, seeing, being kind, caring about others and everything, if we open up inside, there's nobody to be found because the ego is dead. Ego is dead means mind is dead. So it's only in our view Bhagavan seems to be that body and mind. In his view, what is only I am, and he is nothing but that.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Right. So when he said, for example, when he went begging, he felt like an emperor. That is all only in our view that he says that. And the reason he says that is there's a teaching in everything Bhagavan says. That is what we should understand from that is we take so much pride in, we feel so much happiness if we have material things, if we own our own house, if we've got a car, if we've got this, we've got that. Our mind is so dependent on things. But Bhagavan, when he was just going begging his food, when begging your food, sometimes people will abuse you. Not everyone is kind and generous and to give to sadhus. So sadhus will always experience abuse from some people when they're going begging. So you have to face both some people will be very devotional and be very willing to give food. Some people will not. They'll think, well, you're a lazy young fellow. Why don't you go and work? Why you come begging food? So there'll be all sorts of abuse. But because he wasn't dependent on anything, because he felt as powerful as an emperor, because, as Bhagavan himself said at some time, who is more who is the one who is truly free? Is it the person who has so much possessions, or is it the person who has nothing? The person who has nothing is the person who, if they're free of desire, that is true freedom. If you have so many things, but you're attached to them, that itself is bondage. So because Bhagavan had, if he goes begging his food, I think in Bhagavan's case, generally he got food every day, but many sadhus, they have experienced days when no food is available. You go begging and nobody gives you. So you have to go hungry. If you are worried about that, I haven't eaten all day, what am I going to do? If you're concerned about that, if you've got desire for that, you're in bondage. But if you're okay, if it's God's will, today I'll get food. If it's not his will, I won't get food. So what? If you're indifferent to that, then you will feel greater than an emperor. You will feel more powerful than an emperor, because the emperors are limited by their desire, by their attachment. If you're free of desires, you're more majestic than an emperor. That is the teaching that Bhagavan is giving us through that.
The next question is, if you are a real jnani, please, this is Michael, if you are a real jnani, please, can you show me who am I without using a single word, without using any theory? Thank you.
Well, yes, I am a real jnani, but you are equally well a real jnani. Bhagavan said, when people ask Bhagavan, when sometimes people would talk about, is such and such a person a jnani? They'd be having a debate among themselves. There'd be some disagreement. Some people say, no, he's a real jnani. Others will be saying, no, I don't think he's a real jnani. Sometimes people would ask Bhagavan, is such and such a person a jnani? Bhagavan would say, there is only one jnani. You are that. That is what in verse 13 of Uludunaptu, Bhagavan says, jnana mam tane me. Oneself who is jnana alone is real. So we are jnana itself. So of course, jnana knows itself. So jnana is jnani. So in the truest sense, we are always a jnani. But trouble is, because we're looking outwards, not looking within, we seem to be a poor soul in bondage. So though in truth, we are nothing but jnana itself, we now experience ourselves as I am this person. Just like you experience yourself as a person, I'm making the same mistake, so I cannot give you anything. Even if ego had been annihilated and I was aware of myself as jnana itself, I couldn't give you anything, but Bhagavan said jnana is not something that can be given by one to another. You yourself are jnana. Can you go to Bhagavan and say, Bhagavan, please give me myself? Bhagavan say, you yourself are yourself. Just see yourself and you'll know what you actually are. So jnana is not something that is given by others. The function of guru, and I'm not saying I'm guru, by no means am I guru, Bhagavan alone is guru. The function of guru is to tell us to turn within and see that we are self and jnana. So don't expect anything to be given from outside. But if you go to a true jnani, what will they tell you? Find out who am I. We've already come to Bhagavan. Bhagavan has told us, if you want to know what you actually are, you need to look at yourself. You need to turn within. You need to look deep inside. So the function of the outward form of guru is only to tell us to turn within. Guru is not here to hand us jnana on a plate, because jnana is not. What is jnana? The state in which we lose ourselves completely. Bhagavan is not here to give us anything. Bhagavan is here to take everything from us. If you are willing to give yourself entirely to Bhagavan, once you've given yourself to Bhagavan, what will remain? You alone, and you are jnana. So that is the way to attain jnana. So the function of guru is not to give us anything. except to tell us to turn within. The function of Guru is to take everything, to swallow our ego. So if you are ready to give yourself to Bhagavan, he will give himself to you. That is, not he will give himself to you, he will reveal himself as your own real nature. Because he is what you actually are. But in order to see yourself as you actually are, you must be ready to give yourself entirely to Guru. So if we come to the spiritual path, wanting to be given something, that is not true spirituality. That is kamyata. I want this. I want, now I've got enough wealth, I've got enough name and fame and everything. The only thing I'm lacking is jnana. So please give me jnana, Bhagavan. Then I'll be very happy because I'll have everything I want. Jnana is not such a thing like that. When everything is taken away, what remains is jnana, because jnana is what we actually are. So stop looking outside for jnana. The whole purpose of Bhagavan's teaching is to tell you jnana cannot be found outside. Jnana cannot be found in the books. Jnana can be found only in your own heart. This is the whole purpose of the whole of Vedanta. What is the essence of Vedanta? The Mahavakyas. And what is the purpose of the Mahavakyas? The Mahavakyas say you are that. So until we hear the Mahavakyas, we're looking outside. We're looking for God. We're looking for Brahman. We're looking for knowledge. We're looking for happiness. We're looking for whatever we want. We're looking for it outside. The function of Vedanta is to tell you, stop looking outside, look inside. What you are looking for, you are that. What is the practical implication of that? When we are told you are that, we need to stop looking outside. We need to look within. So the purpose of Bhagavan's life was to highlight and to clarify what is the practical implication of the whole of Vedanta. The practical implication of the whole of Vedanta is you are that, therefore know yourself. Look inside. Stop trying to find it outside, trying to find it in books or trying to find it from this guru or that guru. The function of the outward form of guru is to tell you to look within. If you, instead of looking within, if you say, oh, no, you give me jnana, you yourself give me jnana, I don't want to look within, you give me jnana, you're asking the impossible. You cannot know what you actually are without looking within. Guru has told you look within. If you follow what Guru has said, then you will find that jnana is your own real nature. You yourself are that. Tattvamasi.
The next question is, by investigating into self, which I do not understand or know yet, does one eventually understand and develop clarity about the term self-attentiveness? I am I?
You say you don't know yourself, but you say, I don't know myself. Who is the I who doesn't know something? I certainly knows itself because it says I don't know myself. So you clearly know I. There's nothing more, there's nothing new for you to learn. Bhagavan said, Atma-vichara is not a new jnana to be attained. We ourselves are Atma-vichara. Atma-vichara is our real nature. We are nothing other than that. The problem is that our fundamental awareness, I am, that is Atma-vichara. And we all are aware I am. There's never a moment when we're not aware I am. So Atma-vichara is already ours. We are that. But the problem is that instead of being aware of ourselves as just I am, we're now aware of ourselves as I am this person, I am so-and-so. So what we have to do in order to know ourselves as I am, in order to know that I am nothing but I, we need to give up knowing anything else. In order to give up knowing anything else, we need to look deep within. So what is called, as Bhagavan often said, what is called Atma-vichara is not a new knowledge to be attained. It is what remains when we shed all other knowledge. Sometimes people often talk about self-realization. Bhagavan generally didn't speak much in English, but he understood English. So he sometimes used to joke about the English word self-realization. He used to say, we ourselves are always real. So you cannot realize what is real. What is real is always real. It doesn't need realization. The problem is we have realized what is unreal. We have taken this body and mind to be I, and consequently body and mind seem to be real, and consequently the whole world seems to be real. So we have realized the unreal. So Bhagavan said, it is not necessary to realize the real. All we need to do is to unrealize the unreal. So in other words, we've got to shed this body and mind. How do we shed them? We are holding on to this body, mind, and world by looking outside. If we look within, they will drop off because we're no longer holding on to them. And what will remain? That is jnana.
Thank you, Michael.
Right.
The next question is, Michael, with connection to the question the lady asked about her love for her ill father, is there any connection between her love for her parents and a pure consciousness herself?
Yes. Not everything is connected with pure consciousness. Who is it who loves our parents? I love my parents. That I is the pure consciousness. So pure consciousness is the adhishtanam, the adhara, the basis of everything. It is the screen on which all the pictures of ego and all the phenomena appear. So nothing is apart from I am. Even the love that we feel for our parents, that love is our real nature. Now, because we've limited ourselves as this body, we love our parents, we love those who are near and dear to us. We don't like, there are others we don't love. We may even say we hate them, those who give us much trouble or something. All this arises because we've limited ourselves as the body. So those who seem to care for us and contribute to our happiness, we love them. Those who give us trouble, we dislike them. We don't like them. When we look at this world, there are good people in this world who we see them doing good to others and everything. We like such people. But we also see other people. We see Putin, and we see all sorts of bad people in this world. They are not caring about others. They are only caring about themselves. So naturally, we dislike such people. Oh, we wish the world could be free of all these Hitlers and Stalins and all these people who give trouble to others. We wish the world was free of all such people. But this is all our own likes and dislikes. What makes us happy, we like. What makes us unhappy, we dislike. So it's all connected with ourselves, with our love for happiness. And happiness is our own real nature. And love for happiness is our own real nature. So everything is connected with ourselves. But one center of all our experience, whatever we may experience, whether we're happy or unhappy, whether we are rich or poor, famous or nobody, whatever we are, it's all our experience is centered around this one fundamental awareness I am. Now this one fundamental awareness I am is conflated with a certain person. So I'm now aware of myself as I am Michael. So in my little world, who is the most important person? I may say others are important to me, but the most important of all is this little person, Michael, because I am Michael. So that is the center of everything is I am. Everything else appears because we instead of remaining just as I am, we have now risen as I am this person, I am this body. That adjunct mixed awareness I am, that is ego. But the essence of ego is nothing but the pure awareness I am. That is Brahman, that is Atma-swarupa, that is pure awareness, that is happiness, that is love, that is God, that is whatever you want to call it. That alone is real. But all the problems arise because instead of just remaining as I am, we have risen as I am this person. So we are never far away from I am. That we are self or I am. So there's nothing, as Bhagavan says in Atma-vichara, there's nothing easier than being self-attentive and knowing what we actually are. The problem is why we are not knowing what we actually are, because we have so much interest in knowing other things. So long as we know other things, we don't know ourselves as we actually are, because what we actually are is pure awareness, which means awareness, but is never aware of anything other than itself.
Michael, I think my question was more about love and heart, because loving your parents and love is something special, and heart. So the connection between yourself and your love yourself, and probably a projection outwards to your parents. But there is more to it than just...
That is, love is our very nature, but love in its pure form is love for ourselves as we actually are. But now we're not aware of ourselves as we actually are. Now we're aware of ourselves as I am this person. So as this person, because we've limited ourselves, our love is now, we are not experiencing love in its fullness. So we only have a limited amount of love. We can give love to those who are near and dear to us, our parents, our husband, wife, children, our friends. We love these, but we can't love everything. That is because we are limited. Our love is limited. But if we turn within and know ourselves as we actually are, we will experience ourselves as the infinite ocean of love.
Right.
And then why Bhagavan was so loving to all. He was loving to good people. He was loving to bad people. He was loving to animals, even to poisonous animals like snakes and scorpions. The scorpion, the hornets that stung his thigh. He's equally loving to all, because in his view, nothing is other than himself. So he loves all, literally he loves all, because he sees everything as himself. He loves everything as himself.
So we see our parents as part of us in some
Well, we identify, now I am this body. So my parents, they're my father, my mother, they gave birth to me. So naturally there's the attachment there, but it's all rooted in our attachment, the primal attachment, which is the Dehabhimana, the attachment of ourself to this body.
But you can hate your parents.
You can also hate them, but even that's a distorted form of love. Hatred is just the other side of that. Is when we rise as ego, the pairs of opposites come into existence: existence, non-existence, knowledge, ignorance, love, hatred, like, dislike, happiness, unhappiness, knowledge, ignorance. All these pairs of opposites come into existence when we rise as ego. So normally we love our parents, but if our parents give us trouble, some people are unfortunate to be born to very unkind parents, or some parents are unfortunate to have very unkind children. So the relationship between children and parents is not always one of love, but it's very seldom one of complete indifference. Either you love your parents or you're the opposite. But very rare to be completely indifferent to one's own parents or one's own children. So it's either love or hatred, because we have expectations of our parents. If our parents meet our expectations, we love them. If they don't meet our expectations, then our love for them diminishes, because ultimately whatever we love for our own sake. As Bhagavan says, for everyone, the greatest love exists only for oneself. However much we may love others, we love ourselves more. We love them because we believe they contribute to our happiness, or they can contribute to our happiness. Even our love for God, it's impossible to love God more than we love ourselves. Our love for ourselves will always be greater than our love for God. But the more our love for God matures, the more we will find that God is nothing other than ourselves. So eventually we will be ready to give ourselves entirely to God, because by giving ourselves to God, we are giving ourselves to ourselves and losing ourselves in what we actually are.
So we really should be indifferent to our parents.
No, we should be kind. We should be naturally. We should be kind and loving to our parents.
Even
But
the dog and the cat. Yeah.
yeah. We shouldn't be. Was Bhagavan indifferent to anyone? Bhagavan was equally loving to all.
Right.
But sometimes his love. See how Bhagavan treated his mother. He was so kind and loving to everyone. But his mother, he was very harsh in his treatment for his mother.
Because
This Appaḻam song, Bhagavan refused to help his mother make Appaḻam. There was she, a poor old lady struggling to make 200 or 300 Appaḻam, and he was stubbornly refusing to help her. But why he was harsh with her was out of his tremendous love for her, because she still had attachments. She still had that abhimanam. I am his mother. He wanted to remove that ego entirely. And he was very successful, because finally she, towards the end of her life, she wanted nothing more than to die in his arms. And dying in his arms means she died, she lost herself in him. He swallowed her entirely.
Right. Oh, I got tears in my eyes now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Bhagavan is the ocean of complete love. So even if when Bhagavan is harsh, his harshness is harshness of born of love. Sometimes Bhagavan used to get angry even if people were doing a wrong thing. When people beat the mango tree to get the mangoes falling down, or when they chased away the monkeys to stop them getting the mangoes, Bhagavan would sometimes get very angry. But he got angry for the good of all concerned, because he loves everyone equally. So when he sees that people are doing something that is harming others, harming the mango tree or harming the monkeys, he said about the monkeys, this is their place. They were here long before we came. We've come and occupied their place. And now that we say, this is my mango tree, these are my mangoes, and monkeys are trying to steal my mangoes. The mango trees and their mangoes were here long before we came. And the monkeys were here long before we came, but we are now claiming they are mine. So Bhagavan got angry with people sometimes, but for their own good only.
Right. Thank you very much. That's
right.
Really heartwarming.
Right.
The next question is, how common or rare is self-realization among seekers? Did Bhagavan ever speak on this?
When we ask such a question, we are assuming that there's a world out there with there's so many people, and not only human jivas, but also jivas in so many other forms. I mean, now we happen to be human, so we look on other humans and think they are jivas, but actually every sentient being is a jiva. So if there are many sentient beings, how many of them are jnanis? This is our ignorance. The truth is, no person is a jnani. No person can ever be a jnani, because so long as we're aware of ourselves, as I am a person, that is ignorance. When we know ourselves as we actually are, we will know we were never a person. So to talk of self-realized people, or how many people are self-realized, it just shows our lack of understanding. What is called self-realization is nothing but losing ourselves completely, losing ego completely. The only connection we have with this person we seem to be is because we've risen as ego and say, I am this person. So long as we're aware of ourselves as I am this person, we are not aware of ourselves as we actually are. When we are aware of ourselves as we actually are, we will know we were never ego and were never any person at all. So this is all this idea, but how many jnanis, there's so many people in this world, how many of them are jnanis? Twice recently, I heard in different contexts, people were saying there are just 20 fully self-realized people in this world. Anyone who says such things is completely ignorant. That is, so long as you see many people, you are seeing yourself as a person. When you know yourself as you actually are, you will know there is Ekameva Advaityam, one only without a second. And what is that one? I am. There's nothing other than I. Everything, all that we now see is just a false appearance. Even the one who sees it, namely ego, is a false appearance. When this false appearance is removed, what remains is what we always actually are, which is jnana. That's why Bhagavan sometimes, when people, I said a little earlier, when people sometimes used to ask Bhagavan, is such and such a person a jnani? Bhagavan often replied, there is only one jnani. You are that. Know yourself. In your dream, in your dream world, how many jnanis are there? It's the whole dream world exists only in your own mind. So all the jnanis you see in your dream and all the ajnanis you see in your dream all exist only in your own mind. Likewise, this present state is just a dream. There are no others. There is only I am. Knowing I am alone, but there's nothing other than I am, that is jnana.
Michael, the last question. The equanimity you mentioned is so hard to practice. I keep praying to Bhagavan to help me cope with the loss of my dog. She died tragically in front of me in an accident. I'm aware Bhagavan loved animals. I keep questioning him. Why didn't he save her? Sorry for this.
The nature of embodied existence, we are born and we are going to die. We're all going to die. How we're going to die, whether we're going to live to an old age and die a so-called natural death, or whether we're going to die in an accident or whatever, this is all determined by prarabdha. Whatever happens to us is what is best for us. That is, the prarabdha is ordained by Bhagavan for our own good. So for that, your dog was given a certain prarabdha. Bhagavan at a certain point decided that the prarabdha of that dog was that it should live only for so many years. So its life in our view, the life was cut short, but that was just the end of prarabdha. That dog may now be have a better life. I mean, well, it surely will. I mean, we can only make progress in this spiritual path. So whatever happens to us in this lifetime, it's all opportunities for us to advance spiritually. And when this lifetime comes to an end, well, there'll be another lifetime until we can make more progress. So for us, birth and death are big things. When a child is born, we're all very happy. When someone dies, we're all very unhappy. But this is the nature. You can't have birth without death, and you can't have death without birth. So the one thing that is guaranteed, from the moment you're born, you're guaranteed to die one day. So this birth and death, this is the nature of embodied existence. Embodied existence, what is the cause for embodied existence? Now we are aware of ourselves as I am this body. That which is aware of itself as I am this body is ego. That is the root cause of all problems. That is the problem that Bhagavan wants to help us to eradicate. That's why Bhagavan says this awareness, I am this body, this is the root cause of all problems. In order to shed this false awareness, I am this body, you need to be aware of yourself as you actually are. In order to be aware of yourself as you actually are, you need to turn within, because what you actually are is pure awareness that is never aware of anything other than itself. So long as we're aware of anything other than ourselves, we are ego. And we're consequently aware of ourselves as I am this body, I am this person. So to be free of embodiment, we need to be free of ego. To be free of ego, we need to know ourselves as we actually are. So whatever we experience, now you were given to a very, I mean, obviously it must have been very painful to see your dog dying in front of you in an accident. That's something very painful. Why did Bhagavan give you that painful experience? only to motivate you all the more strongly to turn within. The whole aim of all of Bhagavan's teachings, the whole aim of the whole entire prarabdha that he has given us is just to turn us within. So that is what this life is all about. The sole purpose of our entire existence is to turn within and know what we actually are. So that tragic experience of seeing your dog dying in front of your eyes, that is all to make you understand. One day, just like that, your dog has died, one day you're also going to die if you are this body. So before the death of this body, let us know what we actually are and know ourselves to be ever birthless and deathless. But so long as we take ourselves to be a body, birth and death are unavoidable. And how the death will come, whether it will come nice peacefully in our old age in bed, or whether we'll be run over by a bus tomorrow, we don't know. Or we may suddenly have a heart attack in the prime of our middle age or something. It's all determined by prarabdha, and whatever Bhagavan has allotted for us as our prarabdha is what is most beneficial for us. And the benefit that Bhagavan has in mind is that we should turn within and lose ourselves in ourselves. That is what his teachings are all about. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Arunachala Ramanaya.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Yep. Thank you for that. Really, I mean, it was quite kind of a relief for me to kind of just listen to you. I think so. Yeah, I know I've been long, like 10 years back, I've been to the ashram, and in the middle of the night on a Girivalam, I've been there. So, and then I've kind of missed him a few years. I guess this incident is like literally brought me back to him, like kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
sometimes tragedies in our life can be for our benefit, to turn us more inwards. So long as life is going very well, we forget all about spirituality. Oh yes, my life is fine. There's no problem at all. We forget how certain death is. We forget all these things because we are so deluded by the petty pleasures that we're enjoying in life. So sometimes we need a shock to wake us up.
Yeah, as you said, probably she's living a pretty much nicer life, hopefully, yeah, wherever she is. That's what I just hope for, yeah.
When people inform Bhagavan about death, but such and such a person had died, he often said, good. But dead are lucky. That is, they are free of this troublesome overgrowth of the body. So for Bhagavan, death is not a tragedy. Death is a great relief. But the death of the body, unfortunately, is not the real death. But death, but Bhagavan has come to give us is the real death, the death of ego. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, thank you.
That's the true death that we should all be aspiring for. And this ego will die only when we are willing to give it entirely to him. Then he will swallow it. And
just praying to him to help me surrender to him. Yes,
exactly.
Yep.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Arunachala Ramanaya.